Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Sunday, September 28th, 2025. Not a lot to say here today, and I'm going to run through what I have pretty quickly. I'm going to try this new format, chop chop. And first thing, like, subscribe, and hit that notify bell. Thank you very much. So, jumping right off, we've got the flotilla going to Gaza to deliver aid, 37 something plus ships. And now they're being joined by naval vessels from Italy and Spain. It would be nice if they were there as armed support, but turns out the Italian ship in particular is being very, very clear that we're just there to help any of the boats that get sunk by Israeli forces to help pull you out of the water. Well, that's good for something, right? And Spain, on the other hand, I think is being a little more on the forceful side. I actually don't have any words on that, but it didn't seem like they were so obviously. I'm just here, to take photos of what's happening. Um, any event, just having two military vessels in the middle of the conflict can add to who knows what. And this is on top of Egypt and Turkey are supposed to be having naval exercises in the area where the Gaza flotilla is supposed to arrive right about the same time. So we're going to have some more international boats in those waters, military boats. And so, still, let's see what's going to happen there. I was watching a video about paying monthly fees for different these, that's, and the other things. This one was talking about a printer run out of ink. They were going to refill the ink, and a message says you can't refill this ink unless you pay your monthly fee. Your initial subscription has ended. You got to pay more. And so the person started talking about other things. There are some cars, some fancy cars you can buy that don't have the full power, the motor power available to them, unless you want to pay for the premium package, which is a subscription thing that you'll pay every month. And other features in the car are premium and pay it every month. And then the person was talking about some refrigerators and household appliances where you can pay every month. You no longer buy and own anything. And that eventually everything's going to be pay every month. And so there we go, more drains on our resources as we try to scrape by in this world. There was one point at which I was complaining about the software, like the Adobe Photoshop. They were one of the leaders in doing subscription things, and which it upset me because I used to buy the product, but then I thought, almost every year I would get the new version because I wanted the new version and I paid for the new version. Now, it wasn't a subscription thing, but when I think about it, that almost was a subscription, right? Because I paid new every year. So I've almost got mixed feelings about it. I guess I've got mixed feelings about it. Well, this guy said, there we go. The investigation into George Soros. So here we've got the Trump administration going after a person before there is a crime. Usually, a crime seems to be committed, and you go after the person that looks like they committed the crime. In this case, we're going after the person first and seeing if we can come up with a crime. And the case is being handled by a newly appointed prosecutor who knows nothing about prosecuting. He's never done any in her life. And the initial submissions, the paperwork are all messed up. And there's even two documents presented to the judge where there should only be one about what the grand jury concluded. There were three bullet points, and one of them was supposedly grand jury said, we don't think this one has any legs to stand on. But then the other document and the other judge's hand says they rejected all of them. And then somebody says, well, no, they only rejected two. So is it one? Is it two? Is it three? And why do I have two documents? And it's all just messed up altogether, and there's not much they can do about it. It's like perjury charges, lied under perjury, and the lying is saying I don't remember, and you really can't say a person lied if they said they didn't remember. uh, and maybe everybody in the world could say, oh yeah, you remember, but yeah, you still can't hang a person if they say I don't remember. You need to get something that could actually, punch through something like that. All right, J.D. Vance. I was listening to a speech, and the takeaway is that he wants to use any kind of violence to that happens anywhere. It doesn't matter who does it because it'll be framed as something that the left did, and the left has to be attacked. They talk about the right, especially about instigating violence and hate. This is all that the right does. Everything out of their mouth. As soon as when Charlie Kirk was shot, right away they were talking about get the left, get the left. All right, this is how they go. And I was talking with a right leaning person, and they were trying to say, oh, the left does that. That's what the left does. I asked for some examples. I didn't get any, but I'm going to give you some examples, and in the form of Laura Loomer. So Laura Loomer is, I guess, House of Representatives, because what I'm highlighting here is a critique, a comment she made about one of her colleagues. Uh, she's very famous, and I can't get her name right now. But what does she say? This is the key, anyway. She says, it hurts my heart that we have ghetto black bitches who hate America serving in Congress. Oh, yes, Jasmine Crockett. Such language, we have degenerated so far. Now, listen, I have nothing against foul language. I can use foul language along with the best of them. I mean, not that I do. That's just not my character. And to the point where I might use it at all, I still try to refrain. I mean, sometimes I think it really makes a point, an emphasis when you use strong language. But I'm not one, to use it. I think it's poor civility, poor manners, or something like that. And that used to be the way politics was. You didn't just go saying all these things, but Trump, that's changed everything. Trump has changed everything. So, at any rate, that's Laura Loomer, the wonderful personality that we have in Congress, and the wonderful things she says. All right, let's talk about Mike Johnson, the head of the House of Representatives. A new person was voted to take a position in the House by the people in Arizona, elected her to fill a spot. She's a Democrat, and you go through a normal process where you're welcomed in, you're officially signed in, you're recognized, the papers are signed, welcome to the House. But Mike Johnson doesn't want that because this new person, will be one of the people necessary to force the Epstein files to be released. There's something going on called, I can't remember, disclosure, not disclosure, some word. And if the Democrats had enough people, they could do it, but they didn't until now. Now this person is there. So what does Mike Johnson do? He wants to delay it. Don't let her in. Don't let her come in. He wants to tell Congress, listen, I think we all need to go on vacation. We need to go leave office Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and not be here when she comes in, so she can't be sworn in. Yeah, real straight up guy. But nobody in the Republican Party is straight up. I shouldn't say nobody. There are one or two people. In fact, I was just reading about a person, I don't have his name, who decided he's leaving the party. He's getting out of politics, and he was complaining about the sorry state of Republicans having become MAGA ghouls. Just anything that the president wants, no matter how disgusting it is. And he's even received flack, like for what? He didn't certify that the 2020 election was rigged. He wasn't going along with that. That's like one of the mandatory requirements if you want to be a MAGA. You have to agree that it was stolen. He wouldn't do that. So yeah, he does have some decency in him, at least. All right. So a funny comment about the MAGA people who voted for Trump and then they get screwed, right? They know all their Medicaid is taken care of. All those rural Republicans voting for Trump, and now their hospitals are closing. Is this person made a good analogy. It's like the tree voting for the axe. I thought that was great. And now, will there be elections in 26? Good question. And why do we have to wonder? Well, Trump's doing everything in his power to stop it. He wants no mail in voting, which apparently favors Democrats for some reason. But now we've got militaries in the streets, military that could just decide something funny happened during the elections and we have to take over the voting machines and we'll look inside and see who really won. Oh, look, it was us after all. I guess there wasn't anything funny going on. All right, what else? We got a data center. These data centers now, they're becoming a big thing. What's a data center? It used to be a place where there's data. Okay, big deal. But now we've got this new thing called AI, which is just essentially a huge computer program, which takes up great amounts of computer resources. So, and to keep the plants running, the energy generated, you end up with a lot of pollution in the air from. I guess they don't have clean burning. What are they burning? Coal. They don't use any solar, but they're also sucking up water. Why do they use water? I mean, I've got a computer. I don't use any water, and actually, mine's liquid cooled, but it's not regular water, and it's all contained in a self-circulating, system. It's not like I take water from out of the ground and then spit out dirty water. It's this a couple of ounces in water in there, and it just keeps going round and round and round. But apparently, these data centers they suck up all the water, and especially in Louisiana, there's a big one proposed. Zuckerberg's putting one up that's just going to take all the water. That it's in an area where it's predominantly farming and small farmers, and they're all going to lose their water supply because they're just going to drink it down to nothing. So it got this data center in Memphis, and it's just leading to all kinds of lung problems and health problems in people in the area. Um, so that's going on with that. Come on, let's move along. Humphrey's executor. I always love the sound of that. It's like a big story. Humphrey's executor went before the Supreme Court, and it was mostly about agencies that Congress created at some point, like the Federal Trade Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency. They were created to sort of be resistant to political attacks. Like it was just some who one president's here for 4 years, another one's in for 4 years. They decide they don't like what the EPA is doing, what the Federal Trade's doing. They change it. Yes, it can be done. No, it can't be done. Back and forth. And so the Congress made it look. The president can't do anything. You can't fire these people. Hands off. And that's the way that should be. So the Supreme Court just ripped that away and said, no, the president can do whatever he wants. And so he's just firing whoever doesn't toe the Trump line. And one of the Trump's lines is that the Environmental Protection Agency should essentially just let companies pollute and do whatever they want to do. And so those are the kind of people he's putting in. What else? I got the Augusta Medical Group in Augusta. There must be a lot of Augustas in this world. So wherever this one is, I don't know. But it's closing 3 rural hospitals because of the big, beautiful bill. ICE is going psycho. They're just attacking people, throwing people to the ground, wrestling them, and just taking them away. They're becoming more and more aggressive, or at least we're seeing more stories about it. Maybe they were just as aggressive and didn't see the stories, or maybe they are getting just more aggressive. Trump's sending the military. He just told Hegseth, I want you to send whatever it takes into Portland to protect that war-torn city and protect the ICE facilities under attack. And they can use whatever force is necessary. Now, I immediately took that to be, what? He's like authorizing to shoot to kill. You can shoot if you have to. And then I read someone else saying, no, any force means he could use the Navy or the Air Force or the Army, not just the Marines and the National Guards, use any force. I would hope that's how it is. Reading Trump, who said when he was first in office and the Black Lives Matters protests were going on, was asking, can we just shoot them? Shoot them in the legs. It's okay, right? Just shoot them in the legs. So I'm thinking when he said use any force, he means, take out the guns. So this is what he's suggesting. Now, if you haven't heard about it, Of course, there are reactions from Portland. And so now you see all these people taking photos, videos of Portland, and you never saw more peaceful people sitting on a park, feeding pigeons. There's only one ice center in Portland. So let's look at the ice center. Let's see the protests, the violent protests, the smoke bombs. Zero. There's no people. There isn't a chipmunk. There's nothing there but, a leaf blowing across the street. And yet, for some reason, he wants to send in the armed forces. And what's that reason? Someone was suggesting what it was, and of course, it was some petty reason that some politicals, so that their governments didn't agree with something he was doing. Maybe it was not giving the voter uh, personal information that the Department of Justice is seeking from 26 states, mostly Democratic. They want information from the voter rolls, and this is private protected, like anything is private in this world. But okay, so-called private protected information. There's public information, and the states have said you could have that, but this private information, we're not giving it to you. So he's upset. He wants to send in more armed forces with shoot to kill commands. Now, I guess nothing's really going to come of it because there aren't any even in protesters there. There's nobody to confront. So, but it's the idea how he's just wrapping it up. Uh, oh, here's why. The ICE facilities were cited for violations, like holding detainees longer than's allowed. I mean, there are things that are called allowed, right? Who makes up these stupid rules? Why are there rules in this world at all? I don't know. Well, apparently there are rules about detainees being in there for a certain amount of time, and they exceeded that. Plus, they don't let the detainees contact their lawyers. This is something that shocks me, and just drives me crazy. What you can't call people? Look, it's bad enough you detain them, and so many of them are here, following the legal process, doing everything the way they're supposed to. Everybody shouts, "Well, they're illegals, get there," but they're not illegals. They're doing. I applied, I came in, I went through the process. I go see the courts every month, and then when you go to the courts, they come and take you out of the courts, doing what you're supposed to be doing. So Trump, he doesn't like their facilities being cited. So Trump, he's ready for civil war in California. And so what are we talking about? Well, of course, California was the first place Trump started sending troops and sending his ICE agents, his ICE army, and federalizing the National Guard, and also sending in contingents of Marines. And the big complaint everybody's having about they're unidentified. These authorities, they don't have their names, their faces are covered. And so Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, said there's a new law. No authorities, no policing, no anyone like that can have their faces covered. So Trump is saying, uh, our federal guys will have their faces covered. And if you don't like it, just try and arrest us. Try and do something about it. So here we go, setting up for the armed military confrontation between the federal government and one of the United States. Interesting to see how that will play out. What else? If a little something going on, just another more of United States, disgustingness. Up in Canada, we have an ambassador, whatever, to Canada. And Canadians have stopped traveling to the United States. It's dropped by the millions because of all the things that they said about Canada. Number one, but number two, anybody coming to this country is possibly will be suddenly detained and sent into a detention camp for weeks. Maybe you'll eventually get out, but who wants to spend weeks, one day, much less weeks, in a detention? So yeah, the traffic has stopped, and this fellow, he's upset that these have stopped, and he says, you know what, we might have to do something about that. Well, like what? Well, in Canada, what they have and have had for like ever, since the 40s, I guess, is U.S. customs persons will check you out in Canada before you even get on the flight, and so you don't have to bother with any of that nonsense once you arrive in the States. And he's talking about, if you guys don't start, traveling more to the United States, like, how's this going to happen? What's someone's going to threaten? You're going to get a letter in the mail if you're at home. Listen, you have to take a vacation to the United States, right? Something like that. How could this even happen? But he's saying, listen, if this doesn't improve, we might just take away this pre-checking option that we have. And you guys, you won't like that. And I'm thinking, well, that's a great solution when you are faced with not enough people coming to the United States spending their tourist dollars. Just make it more difficult. Right. That's a good answer. So there you go. There's my one for today. I wonder if that's around 20 minutes. They always end up being 20 minutes. I hope you liked, subscribed, and notified. And thank you for watching. And what's coming up? We got Hegseth is doing a meeting of all the generals on Tuesday, and I've heard two different stories, and one of them is extremely frightening. I've heard three stories. One is preparing for war with Venezuela. The other is just some kind of pep talk, like you guys need to trim the belly fat, do more push-ups. So we want to see you generals be able to, give me 20, right? And I don't know, but the frightening one is that there is going to be some kind of a purging of all the generals, all the admirals, all the top ranked staff, the brass, of who is loyal to Trump and who isn't. That will get rid of the ones that have any semblance of respect for the Constitution, and will just keep the lackey yes men, so that they will be happy to go into any of our cities and will be happy to shoot anybody and will be happy to commandeer the machines and do whatever they want. This is a frightening thing. I am watching with trepidation for what happens Tuesday with this Hegseth meeting. Well, there you go. Those are all the things in the news. I covered everything. I come on just every couple of days. Nothing changes as much as in a day or two. So I give you the highlights every 3 days. And there you are. Maybe I'll start throwing in more personal interest stories, or just something not so political, like what is reality? What is love? Good questions. How should I be living my life? How am I living my life the right way? I think about that a lot. But enough. You all take care. Thank you for watching, and bye now.